If you cannot just type in the chat anytime that you cannot hear us clearly. Thanks for joining this webinar. This webinar is about advanced penetration testing, and we have invited one of our very close partner called LGMS. This LGMS, we have Mr. Fong online. He will be the speaker. So just to share a bit about the partnership, we built a very strong collaborative partnership with LGMS, and all our pen tests and some cybersecurity services are all engaged. We all engage LGMS to deliver the services to our Alibaba Cloud customers. And for today's agenda, I think it will take about 1 hour 15 minutes. Hopefully we can end by then. We have Harun. Harun is our solution architect for Singapore and Thailand in Alibaba Cloud. He will be sharing a bit of Alibaba Cloud's security products and pen tests. And then we have the CEO of LGMS, Mr. Fong, to be sharing a bit more about the pen test and what other LGMS services they have. Mr. Fong has extensive 20 years experience in cybersecurity. So I think, if you have any questions during his presentation, feel free to check in with him, or you can check in with our colleagues here in Alibaba Cloud after the webinar. So without further ado, I will pass the time on to Harun first. Harun will share a bit more about Alibaba Cloud security products. And then after that, Mr. Fong from LGMS will take over. If you have any questions, just feel free to type in the chat group or unmute yourself during the webinar to speak to our speakers. Harun.
Okay, thank you, Monica. Let me share my screen. Okay, can you see my screen over here? Okay, hi everyone. My name is Hiran, Solution Architect from Alibaba Cloud Singapore, taking care of network and security. So we all know that cloud security is a shared responsibility between cloud provider as well as users. So in Alibaba Cloud, you see on the bottom, the physical security, hardware security, virtualization security, all these underlying securities, Alibaba Cloud will take care of them. So no worries from our end users. And then for the account security, business security, application security, data security, infrastructure security, and this security monitoring and operation. So these are all users' responsibilities. So it seems a little bit overwhelming, but our Alibaba Cloud, we can provide the services and the products to help the customers to ease the way, I mean the how they can protect the security in the cloud. So they just need to subscribe to certain security products so they can easily achieve the security requirements. So that's why this whole comprehensive security products and services makes us the #2 in terms of cloud security by Gartner. This is the statistics by Gartner in May last year. So you may be wondering who is the #1, right? The #1 is Microsoft Azure. Yeah, we are just behind it. So just to highlight a few security products, so I want to go through each of our very comprehensive security product list. So here is just some major security products, right? So for WAF and NDD doors, I think everyone should already know it. Just to highlight a few here, the security center is a host protection. So you can use security center to detect and kill a virus and to detect the vulnerabilities and one click to apply those OS patches into your system. It can also to help you to prevent tampering and the ransomware, right? And this Bastion host is a unified remote administration portal. So everything your DevOps people do in the server will be recorded as a video. So there is a back tracing capability. And furthermore, you can set up different policies for dangerous commands, such as remove all. So you can set up a policy to deny such command, or you can set up a policy to trigger a workflow for approval for such cases, right? And the penetration test, of course, is what we are focusing today. So we have a web penetration tests, OS, application, smart terminal, all those different penetration tests. Then we also have the content moderation service. So this is to moderate the content, to do the content filtering, to filter out all those illegal contents. And also we have a SDDP. SDDP stands for sensitive data discovery and production. So you can use this service to discover all the sensitive data and apply the protections and to encrypt or desensitize those information, sensitive information. All right. So for most of Alibaba Cloud security products, right, of course, you can apply them to Alibaba Cloud, but you can also apply them to your on-prem service or your other cloud providers, right? So for example, the bastion host, you can, as long as there is a connection, whether it's a through lease line or through public internet, as long as there is a connection available from this bastion host to your server, you can use the bastion host to manage, to unify your servers as a unified manner, right? Same applies to this security center. And the other security products like the WAF, anti-DDoS, and security CDN and security DCDN. Sorry, there's a typo here. It should be DCDN. It's a dynamic CDN, right? So this will help you to protect your assets in the cloud. All right. And let's zoom in a little bit to the LGMS security services. So you can see over here, there's a very comprehensive security products provided by our partner LGMS. So for the specialized testing, like the VM, like the VA, like the penetration test, so they can help customers to do, and as well as a professional service, like the ISO 27001 implementation and the PCI DSS consulting, right? So all these LGMS can help the customers to ease the efforts to achieve those certifications. And other things like the emergency response and the common criteria consulting. So LGMS, all the security experts, they are CREST certified. So locally, we actually require such a CREST certified reports, right? So they can provide this to you. Okay, without further ado, so let me hand over to Mr. Feng to start the main topic today. Over to you,
Thank you,
Mr.
Hiran.
Feng.
Thank you, Hiran and Monica. And good morning to everyone. Just let me share the slide, a quick one. Is everyone able to see my slides? Monica, are you able to see the slides? Yep.
Yeah, we can.
Okay. Yes, excellent. Good morning. So what we would like to introduce everyone today is what we call the advanced penetration testing. Sometimes we also call it intelligence-led penetration test. And before we start, right, I would like to do a very quick experiment. If you look at the Zoom, right, there's a chat box there. If I may ask a questions, any one of us, have we done any penetration testing for our company before? If you have done it before, maybe you can type 1. If not, you can type 0, right? So let's have a quick survey. And if you have done penetration testing before, maybe just type 1. And if you have not, just type 0. Yep. So we have some friends typing in, Han-Ning Wong, and then Patrain, Lawrence, Roy, Panawit, support, Adrian, Jian Kai. Okay, we have a few coming in. Wenbo, right? Penetration testing. If done it, then yes. If not, then 0. Right. Okay, so we have a mixture. Desmond, right? David, thank you. Okay, there's a handful. All right, so Jason, yes. Jason haven't done it before. Right. Penetration testing is an interesting concept. Basically, is sometimes what we call ethical hacking. So why would organizations want to do penetration testing onto yourself, onto your own infrastructure, right? Why would you want a third party to hack into your infrastructure? So the biggest, before I talk about penetration testing itself, let's talk about some of the misconception that all of us have. All right, many organizations already having in their mind. Now, today's hackers are very different than 20 years ago. I was I was coming from the industry, right? 20 years ago, cybersecurity was not called cybersecurity. Cybersecurity was called information security, and things back then was very different. Hackers back then were very different. So some of the misconception here we have today, including right, a lot of sometimes some customers will tell us, hey, we are not large organizations. Why would hackers want to hack us? Right? We do not have a valuable data for sale, and we do not keep personal data. Why would hackers would be interested in us, in hacking us? What can they get, right? And we do not do transaction online. We are not worried about hackers hijacking our transactions and modify our transactions. And we already have antivirus and firewalls. We have all deploy all the intrusion prevention system. We should be okay. Hackers can't really hack in. And why would hackers be interested into hacking into our industry? We are coming from manufacturers. We're coming from healthcare. Why would hacker would be interested into hacking in our industry compared with financial institutions like banks, insurance? And this is some very common feedback that we receive when we talk to customers about security. The thing is, hackers today are very different than before. Hackers today, they don't pick and choose their target anymore. This is one of the major differentiation, because majority of the hacking activities that happen on the internet today are done in automated manners. Hackers develop automated tools. Hackers develop scripts to help them do scouting, to help them to continuously doing brute force attacks on targets. So to the hackers, all of us are just an IP address. So an IP address waiting to be discovered and to be hacked, right? So this is what is happening right now today. Whether we like it or not, if we are home users, if we are calling from home, like I think most people are calling from home, some calling from the office for this meeting, and our routers are constantly under scan and attacks by hackers. This is part of life already. So we can't really do anything about this, except that we just need to stay proactive in understanding ourselves, just like doing health check, right? We don't know what are the potential issues if you don't do a health check. So penetration testing is the answer for that. Penetration testing, the whole objective of pen test is to give you a health check about telling you how secure is a company, how hackers, what are the ways hackers could have hacked into your companies, what are the ways the hackers will be using to hack into the companies, and what do hackers know about you that you do not know. And this is also leads into my topics today. We're talking about intelligence-led pen testing. I'm going to share with you some ideas about how we hackers, ethical hackers, by the way, learn about your organizations and gather intelligence about your organizations before we even perform the penetration testing. And pen tests also address what are the ways hackers can infiltrate into the companies and then even bring down the companies. So a good penetration testing will show you the potential impact and to show you what are the steps to prevent. And then the most importantly is going through the penetration testing process, you are doing it in a very safe methods to discover your vulnerabilities. And this is, I think, the most of the key point. What we'd like to highlight is that we're going through a safe and proven methods to discover our weaknesses and then act on the weaknesses that we have discovered, right? So this is what penetration testing is addressing. So before I talk about penetration testing, I believe that some of us have already heard of something called vulnerability assessment and sometimes VAPT, vulnerability assessment, penetration testing. There are actually differences between a VA and a pen test. So what are the differences? Basically, I'm going to separate this into two portions, VA and pen test. So the objective of doing a vulnerability assessment is to identify weaknesses in your company, particularly on your computer assets, for example, your network, your computers. So during the vulnerability assessment, the assessor will actually check on the security of your assets, like they're checking on the open ports of your computers, checking on the configuration of the computers, checking at the patch levels of the computers, if the computers are misconfigured or if the computers have any missing patches. This is what the VA exercise cover. A VA typically will tell you what are the problems you currently have on the computers, on your network equipments, or even on your applications. So the list of problems are what we call the vulnerabilities or weaknesses that you have. And then the VA objective is to let you know the weaknesses and also the how to fix the weaknesses, right? So that's the objective of the VA. So basically, you can get VA exercise from Ali Cloud Marketplace. We are also working very closely with Ali Cloud. We work with Ali Cloud on various other sectors. So if you take VA, for example, VA will tell you the weaknesses. right? VA will tell you what are the missing patches, what are the potential loopholes you have in your network and computers. If you take this one step further, right? So now that we know the weaknesses already, we know that we have, we have a patching issue. A lot of our servers are still not unpatched, and we may have potential loopholes. What can we do next, right? What can possibly hackers do to our network if this information get leaked out to the third party, for example? So there comes the answer for penetration testing. Now, in a penetration testing exercise, the objective of the pen test is to show the organization what are your number one, what are your weaknesses, and then number two, how could these weaknesses lead to a compromise, lead to giving a way for hackers to take advantage and hack into your organization. And this is the objective of the penetration testing, meaning that we're taking VA one step further. After you understand what are the weaknesses already, we're going to find a way to leveraging on these weaknesses to exploit these weaknesses and gain access to the organizations to achieve certain objective. This certain objective could be, for example, downloading the user data from your database, or make a password change into your database, or make a open a backdoor from your organization. So this is the objective of penetration testing. Now the question is, since we already know our weaknesses from a VA, right? As an organization, why do we still need to do a penetration test? Right? We already know our weaknesses. We just go and fix the weaknesses that has been identified in the VA. But why do we still need to do the penetration test? Right? So this is a very common asked question. Now, once we have done the VA, we understand, okay, the potential loopholes we have on our computer assets. But in order to prove that the loopholes really exist, and in order to prove that in order to identify other potential loopholes in our network that may not be discovered in the VA exercise, penetration test is the answer. And during the penetration testing, we do not just rely on the result from the vulnerability assessment. We will also carry out additional work. For example, we'll be doing intelligence gathering. We'll be looking at we'll be searching on the dark web to look for any potential useful leads that can help us to infiltrate further into the organization. Now, this exercise will actually greatly give the visibility to the organizations to understand what are the third parties thinking, what are the third parties potentially may do on their organizations. So in summary, you can say that VA is a foundation. If you haven't done any health check before, go for VA first, right? Understand how healthy is your computer asset, how secure are the computer assets. Then consider to do a penetration testing, because in a penetration testing, there are two things we're going to do. First, to do a proof of concept on the weaknesses that we have found. The second thing is to also extend to the areas that is not covered by the VA. And that's why penetration testing usually get associated with VA. They're equally important, right? So for anyone, is anyone coming from Singapore? Anyone? If you are coming from Singapore, maybe you can type yes in the chat box. So let's have a few. Yeah, we have quite a number. Han Ning is from Singapore. Lawrence from Singapore. We only have two persons from Singapore. Oh, all right. We have Desmond, Philip. Jason is also from Singapore. Adrian Wenbo from Singapore. Anyone from any other countries? Australia, Malaysia, Thailand. I think. Oh yeah, Patarin is from Thailand. Yes, great. Right. So for Singapore and Malaysian customers, and there is a requirements from the central banks and Monetary Authority of Singapore to basically utilizing CREST certified vendors when it comes to penetration testing. Now, CREST is actually an association origin from UK. They basically set up good practices and guidelines. So if you are to do a submission for your compliance, right? The recommendation coming from MAS and coming from Bank Negara, from the central authorities, you usually look for CREST certified penetration testing company. And we are proud to say that we have been CREST certified, and we've been working with Alibaba Cloud for servicing financial industries throughout the entire region over the years. And we have great extensive experience when it comes to penetration testing to assist your requirements. So for Thailand, yes. In Thailand, is there a requirement for CREST certified pen test from the central bank? Maybe you can type the answer here. I will catch up shortly. So today, what we have also prepared, also something very interesting. right? I prepared two things today. Number one, we're going to give out risk assessment report of your organization, right? For those who stay until the end of the session, we're going to share with you how you're going to get this report. Basically, this report also covering some of the intelligence search about your organization and what are the digital footprint you have been exposing to the internet. And this report will also tell you if you have suffered a data leak, or maybe your organization is currently having a data leak that is that's current can be found in the dark web, and we're also going to show it to you. And this assessment report, we're going to give it to you if you decide to stay back until the end. I'm going to share with you how. The second thing we have prepared for you is also to show you an actual hacking process, how we during the penetration testing, how we work with the client and show them how hackers can use some of the simple application weaknesses and go into the organizations from there, download data from the database. Of course, in the penetration testing process, we do not just simply hack without telling the customers what is going on. So that's why we have a very structured approach when it comes to penetration testing. So you can have 100% assurance that whatever things that the pen testers are doing, you will always have a sight ahead before the pen tester execute any action. This is a very important part because the thing is, during the penetration testing, the attackers or the ethical hackers may get exposed to some sensitive information that you may or may not want to share. So we always maintain a very close relationship with a pen testing client. Before we carry out certain activities, we will also keep them updated. And once we got the approval, then only we execute certain action. Right. I know that I've been talking a lot, right? So later when I'm showing the video, then you have a much clearer idea of how this actual hacking, actual penetration testing is happening. Right. So another another thing that I would like to highlight is this: when you engage Ali Cloud for penetration testing, whether you are hosting on Ali Cloud or hosting on the cloud or not on the cloud, the penetration testing delivered from LGMS and Ali Cloud, we are also TÜV accredited, TÜV accredited. TÜV is one of the oldest certification body in the world. They have been certifying many products, many software and hardware, and we are quite proud to say that because of our association with TÜV, if you decided to apply European certifications from TÜV, like for example, TÜV Trust IT, trusted web application, trusted mobile app applications, trusted secure infrastructure, if you would like to apply trusted seal from TÜV, you can use our pen test report as one of the benchmarking component. And this also shows you how comprehensive the report can become and how extensive the coverage of the penetration testing process covers. And as if it can use by TÜV as a certification benchmark, right, it's as good as can be used for your authority for your compliance submission. Right, so this is some extra strong value add. And currently, right now, LGMS is the only penetration testing company that the report is accredited by TÜV Trust IT to be used as a certification component. Right. So at the same time, if any of our audience here, if you are looking to achieve PCI DSS compliance, we can also assist you because as part of the PCI DSS compliance, penetration testing and vulnerability assessment are part of the mandatory components. It's under requirement number 6. So PCI requirements has 12 requirements, and under PCI number 6, and also another, I believe it's 11, that talks about penetration testing, vulnerability assessment, web app testing. So we can assist you on this area as well, because LGMS is both PCI qualified security assessor and also approved scanning vendor. So in a way, when we carry out penetration testing for you, we can also steer towards your PCI compliance as well. We prepare a report towards PCI compliance. So I'm going to skip some of these slides and okay, the penetration testing. I'm going to go into the intelligence lab pen test shortly, but let's go back to the fundamental of how we approach penetration testing. We have something called a two-way approach for penetration testing. What do we mean by two-way approach? The first stage of penetration testing is vulnerability assessment. We identify what are the weaknesses. what are the weaknesses in your system, what are weaknesses in your network and computers, and then we will let you know these are the weaknesses we have identified from a third-party perspective, right? We will tell you your server has been missing these patches, and these missing patches could allow somebody to log into your server without a username and password. We will tell you all these weaknesses that we have been discovered, right? Now, sometimes the customer will say, okay, fine, we know the weaknesses, but what other things that, with these weaknesses, what other things can a potential hacker can find, right? And this is a part that we move into the second stage, which is the exploitation. The exploitation will allow us to take the weaknesses that we have identified in the vulnerability assessment process and do a proof of concept to show the customers, look, we found these missing patches that allow someone to hack in, and we're going to show it to you how does a hacker use this loophole and able to log in. And even once we log in, we can actually try a few other potential activities. This is where we can tell the customers what are the other potential impact the vulnerability assessment may not be able to tell you. Right, that is through the penetration testing, exploitation. Of course, this process has to be conducted in a very discreet manner. And when we do exploitation, we will always keep our customers informed. And before we execute certain exploit certain tools, we'll get approval from the customer. We'll brief the customers what are the potential impact if we are executing these tools. We may even download the entire database, or we may insert a record into a database, or we could have just make changes on the file timestamp. So we will let the customer decide whether or not you want the pen tester to execute on certain exploit. And this is a major differentiator of LGMS approach and the rest of the players out there, because we always emphasize on the stability and uptime of our customer system. So when you carry out a pen test, you have the strong assurance that the penetration tester is not going to impose any kind of performance impact to your system. The penetration tester is not going to create any kind of impact for your system uptime. So this is our top priority, right? And this is also one of our major differentiation of how this approach help us to ensure that the customers can always do the test in a safe manner, in a manner that the test will not have any kind of impact onto the production systems. And yes, we do test on the production system. If you require us to do on staging environment, we can do it as well. But over the years, we have been operating for the last 16 years. And the unique thing about LGMS is that we don't sell any products. Our core competency is working on security testing and assessment. We have a lab which is ISO 17025 certified, and to issue certifications on common criteria, to do testing on tooth-related testing. And our focus is always testing, right? That's give you the assurance that during the testing process, we'll always ensure that your systems are not impacted with any of the test cases. Right? Other than penetration testing, the common understanding is we do penetration testing on servers, we do penetration testing on network devices. In fact, the most attractive target for hackers today are not servers, are not our network devices, are not our firewalls. The most attractive targets for hackers today are web applications. If you have web applications that facing to the public, whether you use it internally or whether used by your customers, these are always the prime target that attracts the attackers, because anyone can access your web applications, right? So what they need to do is just identify loopholes from your web applications design or implementation logic, and if they can find a way to exploit that design flaw, they can basically infiltrate into your server, bypassing your firewall. Of course, some people may say, I have web application firewall WAF, right? Can this solve the problem? Yes, if you have proper deployment of WAF, proper deployment of security technologies, that will help. So web app is now the most attractive targets to hackers. So we have to put a lot of emphasis on the web applications. And the second attractive targets for hackers today is our mobile applications. If your organizations ever develop your own mobile applications and used by your customers or end user, and this is the part they also have to pay attention, because hackers nowadays can reverse engineer your mobile applications. If due to poor coding design, implementation design, hackers could have found very useful information from a mobile app. And also note that our mobile app is actually connecting back to our organization's API gateway. connecting back to our organization. So the API gateway is often a target for hackers as well, right? So these are the common targets for hackers, and this is also how you can find out, get to know how secure are your apps, how secure are your mobile apps and web applications by going through a penetration test. So I'm going to go through a little bit about intelligence-led pen testing. Now we have a concept of what is pen test, what is penetration test, what is a vulnerability assessment. I'm going to move on to a little bit further to go into something what we call the advanced penetration testing, or sometimes we also known as intelligence-led pen testing. Now, what is intelligence-led pen testing? As the name implies, right, the pen test is influenced by intelligence. And what is intelligence? What is cyber risk intelligence? Actually, around us, there are many useful information floating around us, useful information about our organizations, some inside information that you may not want to share with outsiders are floating around us on the internet, whether it's on the open web or it could be on the dark web. For instance, if your organization has suffered a ransomware attack before, and the ransomware has also copied some of your proprietary files out, to the ransomware author, to a command and control server that owns by the attackers, quite likely your files are already out there in the dark web, right? Quite likely your files are already out there. The thing is, whatever has been posted onto the internet nowadays is very hard to pull back, right? Once it's there, it's there. And this also applies to user credentials. If you have suffered a data leak before, right? Let's say the username and their password has been leaked out before, and quite likely the username and password can be found on the dark web as well. So when we gather some of this information from the dark web, from the open web, when we put them together, then we form some kind of intelligence. And this intelligence will help for the penetration testing process to make it more meaningful to the organization. So in a conventional penetration testing, we are only looking at servers. We're only looking at web applications. We're only looking at some of the defined asset that is clearly limited by the scope of the testing. Now, in an intelligence-led pen testing, we are gathering this intelligence, and then we will work with the customers to tell the customers how we can leveraging on this intelligence and apply this into the penetration test process. All right, I'm going to share a little bit more about this shortly. But meantime, I'm going to share with you what is cyber risk scoring first. Because once we gather enough intelligence, then we can give you a score. Right? Although this scoring do not take into the consideration of your internal systems weaknesses. For example, if you have a laptop that never in your organizations that never connect out to the internet, then probably we can't tell how secure is your laptop, right? But if you have laptops or desktop and computer devices in your organization that has been connecting out to the internet and then leaving some digital footprint on the internet, then the likelihood of we are able to tell what version of your browser is quite high, right? So when we have all these intelligence gathered together, we can give you a scoring. And we work together with an organization in the US to gather all this intelligence together, and then we will let the customers know from the hacker's perspective, from an outsider's perspective, what is your rating, right? And if you stay back until the end of the session, right, we're going to share with you a report, and we can also do a risk scoring for your organization as well, right? So what is cyber risk scoring and cyber intelligence? Basically, I covered the area, but what I would like to highlight here is that we're going to look at 10 areas of an organization. 10 areas of an organization, and with the 10 areas, we will gather their exposure, their weaknesses, and then do a scoring. And out of these 10 areas, some of the areas that will be very interesting will be data leak. Has your organization suffered data leak before? Maybe is your end users using the company email and go and register some non-work related accounts or not? If some of these happen, right, quite likely we'll be able to share it with you and let you know that these are the potential risks. And this also contribute back to the entire scoring process, right? Has your organization has any known application or network weaknesses, or are you still using obsolete operating system? Like if your end users are still using Windows 7, using Windows 2000, Windows XP, and they are still connecting, making internet connection from within the organization, and quite likely we'll be able to tell you as well, right? So these are the intelligence that being gathered from the public, from the digital footprint of different organizations. right? So we work with organizations called Security Scorecard in the US, and basically we are also performing monitoring, security intelligence monitoring for our customers. And as part of Ali Cloud offering, we also provide this assessment report as part of our penetration testing report to our customers. Right. So from here, you can see that these are the 10 areas you will be looking at: your network security, your DNS health, your patching cadence, how often do you patch your systems, or how rare do you patch your systems. We can basically discover that just by looking at the organization from outside perspective, from a digital footprint perspective. We can also look at your IP reputation. For example, if you constantly get hit by ransomware, and we constantly discover that IP address belongs to you always connect back to a command and control server by the hackers, then we can also tell you that this also affects your score, and then the score will be also affect to show you that the poor scoring from here. So there's a list of areas. I would like to highlight a few. Right, for example, malware infection. During this scoring process, we can tell you that what kind of ransomware. If you're already having a ransomware infection, or you previously had a ransomware infection, we can tell you that from this IP address that belongs to you, we have found out that you have this ransomware infection, and this ransomware infection actually caused your score to go down. And we'll also share with you what are the next step you can do. Right. So ransomware infection is one thing. Then subsequently is data leak. Right. If you have suffer any data leak before in your organization, and where can this data be found? And if this data leak concerning the user credentials, username, and the user password, so the next thing is get them to change their username password immediately, right? Also, many organizations would like to have remote access for the administrators. So this kind of information can also be gathered from outside of the organization without going installing any sensors or anything into the organization. So outdated browsers, right? And this information are very useful for attackers, because if I'm a malicious attacker, I would like to hack into this organization. This is one of the things that I would like to look at. What kind of operating systems your end users are using? If your end users are using outdated operating system, that gives us a very good clue that how to attack, basically to send in malware that, leveraging on Windows 7 weaknesses, and also from there, to make a connection back to an attacker's control center. So this kind of information is something that you do not want a third party to know. But unfortunately, because when we go out, when our users go out to the internet, they are leaving digital footprints, and these digital footprints basically giving an idea for the attackers what kind of setup you have within your organizations. And with this digital footprint with this intelligence that was gathered together, that's where we can form intelligence-led pen testing. So the intelligence-led pen testing is no longer just looking at servers. It's no longer just looking at application alone. The intelligence-led pen testing, the way how we approach to give more value to our customers, is that we'll let them know what are the digital footprint exposure you're currently right now at the moment. What do you have? Exposed to the third party. What can a third party understand about your organization? We'll let the customer know first. And based on this knowledge, then we will restructure the way how we approach a penetration test, right? For example, if we identify from the intelligence testing, we identify, hey, there's a user credentials that we have found on the dark web that perhaps belongs to one of your programmer, belongs to one of the developers. So instead of testing a web app itself, we may want to test the admin console of the web app, right? By using this credential to log in and see how far can we access this. So this entirely pen test process will be shifting from just doing a static scope testing on the application by introducing new approach. And this also give you, the customer, more value adds. Right. So these are some sample deliverables in our sample pen test report. You get an executive summary to share with the management what are the top areas that of concern, and also what are the risk distribution. How many percent of high risk vulnerability has been found, medium and low risk, overall findings. Right, what are the common issues that we have identified, and the details of the findings. Then moving from high level, we're going to a more technical level. In the technical level, we will share with the audience, the readers, how certain vulnerability get discovered, and what are the steps to fix these vulnerabilities. And all of these are in the pen test report. And sometimes the customer may say, "Oh, we would like to know the proof of concept. How do you exploit certain vulnerability? How did you download our database, for example, during the pen test process?" So we also do a very careful screen capture to record down all the steps, so the customer can also treat this as a lesson learned. In fact, we get a lot of feedback from our customers that actually they learn a lot by just reading the report, and it's also one of the highlights that we want to share. The other thing is for people coming from Malaysia, Singapore, we know that you need to do a submission for your central bank, MAS for Bank Negara. You can actually use our report. In fact, we are the first company in Malaysia who are crash certified. We also have been serving financial institutions worldwide, and just that these two countries, we know that they are quite particular on the crash status. Other than penetration testing, we also perform red team assessment. A red team assessment is like a more advanced kind of penetration test. It doesn't confine back to computers anymore. In a red team exercise, what we're doing is that we're going all our way out to find loopholes of an organizations. We can carry out basically testing that's non-computer related testings. For example, we're making phone calls. We are sending fake phishing emails to your users, and then see how's their feedback, and then from there we implant a friendly malware. So it's also encompassing various type of so-called social engineering techniques, and also advanced intelligence lab pen testing activities involved. So red teaming exercise is more like an advanced kind of version of penetration testing that we cover, right? We also do source code review. If you have any codes that you would like to ensure that there's no backdoors, there's no loopholes in the codes, this is something that we can help you. We have a lab that is ISO 17025 certified, and this lab is also accredited to perform source code review. One of our customers, including some international firms like Swift. Swift is I believe many of us are coming from a financial industry aware about Swift. They are the largest messaging service provider in the world for banks. So we do code review for some of these organizations. And at the same time, we also provide cyber incident response services for our customers. If you need any help when it comes to intrusion, let's say you have a case, you have a potential case, then you can go to Ali Cloud Marketplace. There's an option that you can get help, right? So our service is available on Ali Cloud. So at this point, right, if you have any questions, please feel free to type in the chat box. I'll be happy to answer. Let me just quickly check on the chat box. All right. So the next thing I would like to do is to share you a video of how the actual hackers identify certain loopholes and how we work with the customers and hack deeper into the organization, and then even upon the request by the customers to install a persistency of backdoors, and to show how real hackers able to do certain things onto the systems. Again, the entire of this process is supervised and also work closely with our customers. We do not carry out any attacks without approval, without any green lights coming from our customers, right? So let me just pull up the video shortly. Is everyone able to see the video? Yes.
Yes. Yeah.
All right. So let me try to see. I'm trying to do two things here. I'm trying to stream the audio of this video into this mic, and then see and channels back to Zoom. I'm not sure how's the effect, but let's see. Are you able to hear?
After the vulnerability assessment phase and receiving the client's consent to proceed with the exploitation, LGMS security team proceeded to craft a reverse shell payload to be used in a command injection vulnerability. A reverse shell is a shell session established from a connection returned from a victim machine.
I'm just going to pause a little bit here. So what this pen tester is doing is that this is a website that belongs to the customers, right? So you see the website allows someone to log in like test123 and then key in the username, right? So this is a website that has certain vulnerabilities that is what we call the command injection vulnerabilities. So what the hackers is doing is that the hacker is going to inject command into the login forms. And because of the weakness of the applications do not know that this is actually a command, then the application just blindly process the command. And then in this blind process, when the application process the command, the application actually giving a connection back to us, to the attackers. And this is what's going to happen.
Once the payload is ready, LGMS proceeds to set up a listener and waits for a connection back from the victim application server.
Right. At this point, we already made the connection out from the victim. So you see, this is how ethical hackers and penetration testers are able to bypass your firewall. Now, you may be blocking on certain ports before the hackers can hack in, can connect into your web servers, right? You're only opening port 80s, and that is defined clearly in your firewall. But the thing is, the firewall is not designed to block connection coming from inside to outside. So in this case, what happened was the hackers managed to trick the web server to make connection from within the web server out to the attacker's machine, which is on port 4444, right? Of course, unless your firewall has the rules to block outgoing ports on 4444, then of course this connection will be blocked. But the hackers can use any numbers. Instead of 4444, hackers can use any numbers. So our firewall is not designed to block internal connection to go out. That's one of the loopholes that we can identify from the pen test already. So let's continue.
When the payload is executed on the victim application server,
Mr. Fong, we cannot hear the video now.
valuable ones.
Sorry.
As
Okay.
returned, it seems like something
You
juicy
just reverse
is
a bit.
found. In this scenario, files are stored on the server.
Thank you.
The find command is used to search for sensitive files. In this scenario, files with SQLite extension. An SQLite file is a database file that stores information, potentially sensitive and valuable ones. As returned, it seems like something juicy is found. LGMS will always obtain the client's consent before executing any exploitations, dumping of data, or intrusive test cases. To view the contents of the database, LGMS proceeds to check if the SQLite query tool is installed, as it is one of the tools commonly used to open SQLite files, and SQLite is being used on the server. LGMS then opens the database file using the SQLite query tool and checks if there's any sensitive information stored. For example, any user information or credentials. To further analyze the information properly and as a proof of concept for data exfiltration in this demo, LGMS proceeds to download the database to the pen tester's host machine. The netcat tool is used for the file transfer process. Once the file has been downloaded onto the pen tester's host machine, LGMS then uses DB browser for SQLite tool to open the downloaded database and view the records with a properly organized user interface. To ensure future accessibility of the compromised server, and as a proof of concept, LGMS implements persistent reverse shell access. The reverse shell code used earlier is added into the victims.bashrc file. As a result, whenever an interactive terminal or batch session is executed by the user in the victim application server, the reverse shell connection is automatically executed, and LGMS will get another shell session to further enumerate or carry out further tests. Please do note that upon completion of this penetration testing or POC phase, LGMS security team will do a cleanup process, which removes all of the artifacts used or created during the penetration test process.
So that also we also saw a very interesting questions um, from Batarin. He was asking if you're using a web app, if you put it in the container, can this be more secure? In essence, the short answer is yes. And whatever you see here on the screen happens because the attackers is exploiting the weaknesses of the web application in order to have the shell access to web applications. Now, when you host your applications in a container, all right, as specific containers, you may not have this vulnerability. That take away your worries about this kind of shell access already. That's number one. The second thing is in a cloud environment, you have much granular control about the traffic, the incoming and outgoing traffic on your instance. So this also gives you a further assurance that compare with if you're hosting the application on premise with your own server, own operating system, may even have their own weaknesses. Hosting on cloud give you a certain edge and advantage. That's the other aspect of hosting on cloud. The security aspect of it is that the recovery of cloud instances are very fast, especially you're just hosting a container. The recovery is very fast. If you see that something strange happening, before you even go into too deep into forensic investigations, you can just respawn another container and then do a quick check and do a parallel checking. So there's a tons of advantages where modern technologies can help to eliminate some of these potential risks. But of course, in reality, we may not have all our applications able to run in a container or manage to move everything into the cloud. But if you see any good potential of your applications applications and software that can be moved to the cloud, I would strongly recommend that move them to the cloud, put it into the container, and that greatly help you to manage your security more efficiently in the long run. All right, that's pretty much about the video. And let's come back here. Right, so that basically summarize a quick presentation about our penetration testing processes. If you have any questions, please feel free to unmute your mic, or if you like, you can also type in the chat box. I'll be happy to answer. Because we have been doing penetration testing for close to 20 years, we have actually collected quite extensive list of test cases. So if you ask me, like, Feng, have you guys hacked into ATM machines before? I can tell you the whole stack of test cases that we have to show you how we hack into ATM machines. So that's the unique part about this collaboration with Alibaba Cloud, because Alibaba Cloud also having customers coming from all different kind of industries, and this is also how we can basically share our experience of penetration testing, security assessment from different industries with Ali Cloud customers. Questions coming from Batarin. Our HQ is based in Malaysia. We have partners throughout the Southeast Asia, partner offices throughout Southeast Asia. Right. So let's go back to the risk scoring that I just mentioned earlier. Now, I would like to propose value-added services for everyone here who attend our presentation today. We are going to give you a risk scoring of your organizations coming from an outsider's perspective. So what do we mean by outsider's perspective, right? So when your organizations have a if your organizations have a website, you have end users coming from your office going out to the internet, and quite likely you're leaving some digital footprint on the internet already. And in some extreme cases, if your organization has suffered any cyber attacks before, and these cyber effects from a cyber attacks could be found from a dark web, we're also all going to tabulate this information and then give you a risk scoring. In fact, this rescoring report is part of our penetration testing report. We only give these details out for our pen test clients. So today we're going to share with you about organizations. And Monica, is there a way that we can gather the information?
Yeah, so thank you, Mr. Fong. After this webinar, right, our marketing team, Jermaine, who's online, she will share with us the list of customers that stay online, and then we'll share with you. Of course, through email, we'll send the email to the customers to check whether they want to receive this free risk assessment report, and then we'll let you know.
Excellent. Okay. The other thing is that for anyone who is interested to know more about the penetration testing services, intelligence lab pen testing, go and check out Ali Cloud website. Monica, could you share the website URL
Sure.
maybe in the email shortly with everyone here?
I will share it. Yeah, I will send it in this chat.
So we have a question coming from Mr. Wong Han Heng. How do you guys do a dark web search, scan or leak information? How do you verify info is real? Yes. Now we have several sources of cyber threat intelligence. We work with cyber threat intelligence platforms, operators. We also do our own dark web search. In fact, as part of our job, because we do computer crime investigation, digital forensic, we are very often visitor of the dark web. You know, we help our clients to search for their leaked files, information through our ransomware attack. So we are we're having a constant visit, monitoring on some of the dark web forums. And at most commonly found things in the dark web are leaked credentials. If you give us a name, we can probably tell you that your name perhaps has been found in certain leak before. It happened in what year, and it's never an absolute 110% coverage, because sometimes we can find from the dark web, sometimes we can't, but it doesn't mean that it's not there. So we always have the perception that before we do any testing, before we help give a more insight for our customers, we will always go through a dark web search. We'll always go through intelligence, the risk scoring process first before our penetration testing, so they give you a more complete overview of your security posture. We have another question from Roy. All right. As the software are always being updated, do I have to conduct VAPT assessment on a monthly basis? Now, it depends on you. Because it depends how often do you update your software. If the software is developed by yourself, and then what are the significant changes in the software, if the changes are significant, quite major, then I would say that integrate penetration testing as part of your SDLC, software development lifecycle, or part of your agile process. So every time you make certain major changes, make sure that the changes do not introduce any new threats to your app by doing a penetration test. Now, if the software is not done by you, the software could be a third-party software, could be some software that you bought, you lease, then you can also inquire the software vendor about their pen test report. Or if you're hosting the software in-house with your own on-premise operating systems, then the next focus will be testing on the operating system as well, but just not looking at the software. So how often is entirely back to your risk appetite, actually. So we, just to share with you some examples, we have tests going on with banks almost at a daily basis. And these tests always happen even during office hours. And we also have tests going on with manufacturers like once a year, half a year. So it depends on your risk appetite. If you're having some kind of depending on the nature of business, again, if you are facing public users, you have a mobile app, and then you're facing public users, all your public users are using a mobile app, then you belong to the high risk category, right? As a high risk category, the frequency of testing will be much higher, meaning that every time you have major changes in your app, or maybe there's a new functionality you want to introduce into your app, then you should be doing pen testing, right? So I get these two questions. If there's any questions, please feel free to unmute your mic and also type in to the chat box as well. So let me just do a quick wrap up of the interesting part about LGMS pen test. Number one, we're crash certified, the report you can use for your crash submission. That also gives you some kind of assurance that we are have a certain kind of quality process in place. The second thing is the LGMS penetration testing and security assessment report is accredited by TÜV. And if you have any plans to apply for trusted application certifications, you can use the report, right? If you don't, that's fine. But that gives you the assurance that the penetration testing report is also accredited by a reputable third party that to prove that the report is extensive, is detailed enough, and then contains useful information to help you to mitigate your risk, right? And the next thing is LGMS. We are also a PCI approved scanning vendor and PCI qualified security assessor. You will, if you are in the process of looking for PCI DSS compliance, or maybe you want to adopt some of the best practices from payment card industry data security standard PCI DSS, you can go and check out the cloud marketplace in Ali Cloud, because Ali Cloud is currently still the only and still the first one in the market, in the cloud player market, that works together with the official PCI vendor to deliver this service together to their customers. So on Ali Cloud today, you will find our PCI DSS wizard, where you can you can log into the wizard and then let the wizard guide you to guide your organizations, to let your organizations know what do you need to do, right, and how much you need to do in order to be PCI DSS compliance. And this software is designed for free and for Ali Cloud users, right? So there are quite a lot of things that you can find from Ali Cloud platform, and that's the reason why we like to work with Ali Cloud, because they are also always emphasize on good security protection, and also giving a lot of advantages to the Ali Cloud customers. Thanks, Monica, for the link.
Yeah, thanks, Mr. Fong. Is that all from your side?
Yep, that's all from my side.
Okay, thank you, Harun. Thank you, Mr. Fong, for having this session with us. I think it's very informative, and we have quite a few questions from the audience today. So I think that's quite good. I hope all of you have learned something from Mr. Fong. If you still have any other questions, you can always reach out to the Alibaba Cloud sales team, or you can go to the pen test link that I share and just enter your information, and then there will be someone to follow up with you. So as promised, those who stayed throughout this webinar, you will be entitled to a free cybersecurity risk assessment report that Mr. Fong shared. There will also be lucky draw. There'll be Food Panda vouchers giving out to 3 winners, and our marketing team will be reaching out to you for this all the winners in the report. So any other last questions from the audience? If not, we don't want to hold you back from your lunch time. Thank you, Mr. Fong, again for the very detailed presentation. And thank you to all our customers that joined today. Thank you very much, and have a good day. Thank you, Jermaine, also for hosting this, and Yen Han. Bye-bye. Bye to everyone.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you, Kok Keong, Wenbo, Han Heng. Thank you. Thanks, Michael. Thanks, David. Thanks, Jason. Thank you, Jian Kai. Thanks, Michael. Thank you, Adrian. So, Monica, you just, once you gather the names of the companies who would like to receive the risk assessment report, then you just pass it to our.
Yeah.
You can share with me in Ding.
Can.
Yeah.
No problem.
Yeah. We'll work on that.
Yeah.
Thanks, Lemon. Good to see you here.
You guys are connected, is it?
Same industry.
Okay.
Yeah. I'm going to log off soon, so we catch up again. Thanks, everyone. Thank you once again.
Okay, thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye. Thanks. Bye-bye. Thanks, everyone. Bye.